Former President Trump really took a victory lap after this decision came out, and he posted this on Truth Social, his social media platform. He called the lawsuit ridiculous and also without merit and unconstitutional. What do you make of his assessment here? Was this unconstitutional?
Well, not yet. The court didn't rule on the merits. The court said, we're not going to get to this now. And so the merits have been preserved for a future time. But it is, in a general sense, a victory because there's no adverse judgment against his being on the ballot at this point.
As we know, he was indicted 4 times in this calendar year alone. He recently testified in a New York fraud case, and there have been investigations and lawsuits swirling around him. Do you see any of his other legal issues being a hindrance for him for 2024? Because as we know, he's far and away the front runner in the presidential race in the Republican Party.
Well, from a legal and constitutional standpoint, the short answer is no. The Constitution doesn't bar indicted or convicted people from running for president or being elected. The standing qualifications for office for president as specified in the Constitution are that he be 35 years old, a natural-born citizen, and a resident of the United States for the last 14 years. In fact, the state of California passed a law that attempted to put a prescription in the law that would say if you don't provide your tax returns publicly as a candidate, you can't get on the ballot. That was stricken down. In history, Mayor J. Michael Curley of Boston served as mayor after he was convicted and incarcerated. Now, being mayor of Boston isn't being president, but the question of whether any of this has a bearing on his eligibility for office, there's no textual basis for that.
Do you think then, let's take it away from Trump, but do you think it sets any sort of precedent for any future presidential contender? Because he has made history as being the first former president to be indicted 4 times. Or do you think Trump is just a special case here?
Well, my own view is we have been on a slide on a slippery slope since Watergate. And we have institutionalized and regularized application of the criminal law to the president. And going all the way back to Nixon, when Special Prosecutor Leon Jaworski determined that he could but wouldn't indict President Nixon, up to and including President Bill Clinton during the Starr investigation, this has always been a looming question. And now it's been presented front and center. And what has happened historically, unfortunately, in my view, is we are stepping closer and closer and closer to the abyss in terms of using the criminal law as a very blunt instrument in prosecuting a president. And what is, if past is prologue, we're not going to go back from that. The one thing I know is that we've never retreated from the post-Watergate, quote, reforms, where we put all of this criminal process into play. So he may be the first, but my view is he won't be the last.